And Monique, now you tell us, what are the requirements to amend patent claims according to Brazil's industrial property law, please?
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Alexander and Kush. It is a very pleasure to be with you all here today discussing a very important issue. And regarding your question, Ivan, the single, I will share my slide first. I just forgot. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so the single provision contained in the Brazilian IP law related to claim amendments is contained in Article 32 of our Brazilian law, which defines that in order to better clarify or define a patent application, the applicant may perform amendments up to the request for examination, provided that they are limited to the subject matter initially disclosed in the application. So upon reading Article 32, we find a very important administrative step and the prosecution of a patent application in Brazil, which is the examination request. And in Brazil, the examination request can be performed up to 36 months counted from the effective filing date and from the international filing date for PCT applications. So said article can be considered as ruling amendments filed before the examination request. Therefore, in view of the language of Article 32, and as the Brazilian IP law does not contain any provisions for submission of amendments during the examination on the merits, it opens the door for different interpretations of Article 32. And you see on my screen, the pyramid shows three possible interpretations given by Article 32, a restrictive one, an intermediate one, and a reasonable one. So we will begin with the top, which is the restrictive one, in which the understanding is no amendments can be submitted after the examination request. So in view of the language of Article 32, it is understood that no amendments could be submitted once the request for examination has been performed. And this is the argument usually used by third parties when submitting aid for examination of patent applications, that is pre-grant oppositions or post-grant oppositions. And the intermediate one is the interpretation in which the understanding is after the examination, only restrictive amendments are acceptable. And this is the interpretation used by the Brazilian PTO. And according to this interpretation, the right to broaden the scope or to include new embodiments, that is, claim categories, is seized once the examination fees have been paid. And the third one, which is the green one, the basis of the pyramid, is a reasonable one that we consider it is our position and the applicant's position, is that understand that after the request for examination, amendments to claim the matter disclosed in the application are acceptable, since it is written in Article 32 that up to the request for examination, amendments can be done, provided that they are limited to the subject initially disclosed. So this disclaimer of Article 32 of the matter initially disclosed in the application is used to this interpretation that once the subject matter claimed is disclosed in the application, so the amendment should be accepted. And we are talking about voluntary amendments submitted by the applicant. And Ivan, may I continue?
Yes, please.
Continue just to explain how the Brazilian PTO is interpreting and applying these rules about amendments and to patent claims in examination.
Yes, please go ahead, Monique.
Okay, so as I have mentioned, the first point to be observed in the administrative step of examination request, which refers first to the mere payment of fees for the number of the claims on file, which you wish to have them examined. And according to the Brazilian IP law, Any submitted with the aim of adding new categories or broadening the claim scope in relation to that was originally filed or originally claimed are allowed until the request for examination. Any amendment is possible if supported by the application as filed. And this administrative step, the examination request, is effectively deemed to be a waiver of unclaimed matter. That is to say that if the application supports subjects that are not covered by the claims on file at the time of the examination, then you no longer be able to include them if you have already paid the examination fees. So, for example, if you have in your set of claims, compound claims and composition claims, and the application discloses other categories such as kits, use, article of manufacture, and any others, the applicant should consider including such claim embodiments in the set of claims before the request for examination, because after the examination request, only amendments directed to the restriction of the claims on file at that time are accepted. So in your screen, you have the deadline of what I just have told you. You have the filing date, international filing date for PCT applications, or the filing dates for non-PCT applications. And before the request for examination, any type of amendments is possible, obviously, provided that the amendments you wish to pursue are supported by the application as filed. Once you have paid the examination fees, so your right to include or to broaden the claim scope is ceased, according to the intermediate interpretation that I have shown in the previous slide. So non-acceptable amendments after such administrative step is that new claim categories and broadening of the claim scope. And a point that is important and should also be emphasized here is that the Brazilian PTO adopts the same position, the same approach for divisional applications. That is, if a division application has to be restricted to the subject matter of the parent application as claimed before the request for examination. So if you have filed the request for examination and for certain embodiments, and you have the intention of displacing some subject matter into the division application, so it is very important, and the applicant should be very, very careful in including the set of claims at the time of the examination request, all possible embodiments, categories, the broadest claim possible, so that during the prosecution, you can perform the appropriate restrictions and even elect or displace the subject matters to pursue in a divisional application. I know that although all the administrative fees are paid for the filing of each divisional, such as the filing fees, the annuities, the examination request fees, the Brazilian PTO considers that once the request for examination of the parent application has been filed, such effect is brought by the divisional application. And just a final comment, Ivan, just to mention that there is no specific provision in the law addressing the submission of voluntary amendments after the granting. But during the administrative nullity procedures, the Brazilian PTO may decide for the partial nullity of patents, suggesting any restrictions or even cancellation of specific claims. So the letter's patent is reissued with annotation to the letter's patent containing the suggested amendments which the examiners has considered to still subsist after the nullity procedures.
What is the usual advice related to the submission of amendments to the claims during examination?
Okay, Ivan. Amendment is obviously is a resource guaranteed to the applicant as a normal part of the examination of a patent application and is submitted for a different purpose, or that is to overcome objection raised, to voluntarily restrict the matter in order to expedite the allowance. And considering the importance of amending the claims during the examination, since in the patent system there is no second chance, the submission of amendments is very essential. So as previously mentioned, the applicant or the attorneys shall be very, very careful when deciding amending the claims by including in the set of claims, by including categories or broadening the claim scope at the time of the examination request. And we always advise that please consider including all embodiments, categories. Please consider including the broadest claim possible, so that during the examination you'll be able to perform the appropriate restrictions, or even to elect or displace any subject matter to be pursued in a division application. So our advice, I'll just share my screen because it is important that it is kept in mind, is that you should, the advice is not to exclude any embodiments from the set of claims. And I know that sometimes there is a budget restriction and you wish to save costs with examination fees. But for example, the advice may be to merge dependent claims as much as possible, but keep all independent claims and embodiments so that during the prosecution, you are able to manage all your needs. And obviously, last but not least, to redraft unpatentable matter into patentable matter. We have a very usual issue on patent applications in the pharmaceutical area are the therapeutical methods, which are for use on human or animal body and therefore are not considered to be inventions. So in Brazil, the appropriate manner to redraft a therapeutical method is by the Swiss type use claims format. So, and we advise that, and we draw the attention to that, because sometimes the applicants file the application but has no idea of what commercial product will be. Therefore, if the claims are too restricted or not all possible embodiments are covered by the set of claims, then your product goes to the market, so the applicant will find out that the set of claims does not cover the product and is faced with such an issue, since there is no second chance. And unfortunately, it's not possible to rewind and go back in time and do things right. But there is a light in the end of the tunnel if it occurs. In case the applicant does not succeed to revert the Brazilian PTO negative opinion to get the coverage of interest, there is the alternative to continue fighting for patent coverage through the court's review. Because in Brazil, the Brazilian PTO does not have the final say about a patent system, as the courts are fully competent to review and to overrule the Brazilian PTO's decision in their entirety. So that's all, Ivan.
There is any difference about the kind of changes you can do to your claims if you decide to divide the patent application instead of trying to amend existing claims?
Just one comment, Ivan, regarding divisional applications related to this question is specifically, yes, today we have shown that how important is the request for examination in Brazil specifically. But we would like to draw the attention to Article 26 of the Brazilian PTO, which defines what are the conditions to file a division application. So the conditions, the requirements to be met are: the patent shall be filed until the end of examination, which is considered by the Brazilian PTO to be the allowance, rejection, or shelving of the application. Refer to the parent application and does not exceed the subject matter disclosed in the original application. So we stay on the same path here, bringing the importance of having the matter claimed disclosed in the original application. So once we have all these requirements met, I think that it is quite easier to bring the matter for example, to before the federal courts and discuss the matter. So because in the situation, the division application, all the requirements are met. So the strict position adopted by the Brazilian PTO regarding amendments of the parent application are brought to the division application. So once we have this scenario, and specifically we have met the requirements for division application, I think it makes our lives easier when bringing the matter to discussion at the courts.